What is going on, everybody? My name is Nico and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video. Of course, I have to work today. I have a long 12-hour day, and Pokemon dropped some news. And normally I already have a video uploaded. It's already pre-recorded, ready to go. Not today, no, because we have to announce a new 7-star raid. Now this one's very interesting, I have to say. Not what I was expecting from the next 7-star raid. We are getting Pikachu, a Water Tera Pikachu, which I think is a cool callback to like Surf Pikachu. And I think this is really interesting, and I want to talk about why. But if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more videos like this in the future, and let's get into it. So before we get into the Pokemon I think you should bring to this particular raid event, I do want to talk about just the fact that this event runs before Pokemon Day. We also got information that there's a Pokemon Presents next Monday. I'm going to be making a video over that in the future, so make sure, your sub notification bell for all that fun stuff. But on February 24th through February 27th, we have access to the Pikachu Tera raid event. Now, interestingly enough, this doesn't end on the Sunday. This actually ends on the Monday of the Pokemon Presents, which I find very interesting because they also, every event we've had so far has had 2 weekends. We've had a weekend of X Pokemon 2 times, right? Now, this one only has 1 weekend and ends during the Pokemon Presents. This leads me to believe that this is a 1 weekend event. Now, why do I think this is interesting? Because it ends the same day as the Pokemon Presents. So we will have up until the Pokemon Presents to play this particular raid event. And then I have a theory that they are going to announce the next raid event. And I have a hunch, just a hunch, that it's going to be something like Mewtwo. It's going to be something big and exciting that gets people really ready to go and ready to raid more in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And that one will be a 2-weekend event. However, this one is just this weekend, and I want to talk about what you can bring to this, because honestly, Water Tera shards are really good. So being able to farm this is really important. So let's talk about it. So first things first, we got to talk about Pikachu itself. Pikachu itself is a very interesting option. It's definitely going to have Lightning Rod. There's no reason it would have Static. It's going to be a Water Tera type, and I think just looking at the stats, I mean, it could go either way, but typically Pikachu has been normally a special attacker. It's usually what you see with like Raichus and VGC and stuff. It could definitely go either way, but I don't really think it affects what Pokemon we bring that heavily, to be 100% honest with you. So this is what I essentially believe that we're going to see, and I definitely think there could be something like Volt Tackle, things like that are going to be really prevalent. If it goes the special route, you maybe see like Thunderbolt, things like that, right? Because of the Water Tera typing, I do think we see Surf on this Pokemon. And that's where I think things get interesting. There are a handful of other options here in terms of the moves it could get. And honestly, this is one that we're going to have to wait a bit closer to the launch, the day of, to actually know what this is going to run. But I definitely think Surf is going to happen. Surf or Tera Blast. It's going to be one of the two. I think Surf is the more clever option here. But then Thunderbolt or Volt Tackle, whatever the case may be, is going to be the other option. I think it's likely this is a mixed attacker like Greninja, and that could change slightly what you're going to end up building. But I'm going to just kind of show everything off in terms of being a special defensive Pokemon here, and I have a couple options. So for this Pokemon, I think right here at the tippy top, Amoonguss is actually going to be a very fun Pokemon for this particular event. It's got great HP. It's got great special defense. It's just a very bulky Pokemon naturally. And for this particular event, I think it's definitely going to be good because it resists both of the things that Pikachu is likely to be throwing at you. Now, Pikachu does also have access to Fly. I just don't think they're going to be as disrespectful to us as adding Fly to Pikachu in a raid, because it eats up so much time. So I just don't see that being a thing. So I don't think we have to worry about that too much, and that could definitely change. But grass types are going to be your way to success. I have a good feeling here in this particular event. So Amoonguss, I definitely think you're going to run something like Giga Drain, Energy Ball. Growth is one that I think is going to be very useful, and then Sunny Day, because that's going to make your growth even better. It's +2 in the sun, and then I'm running a special attack set here because you got to think, for this particular Pokemon, you're going to be trying to match with other acid spray users, and there's a very particular acid spray user here that I think is going to be very good. And the reason I bring up Acid Spray is because it's such a powerful move in raids, and people have really put a lot of focus on that, and for good reason, for very good reason. The next Pokemon outside of Amoonguss, and I mean in terms of item, you could do like pretty much just any like bonus damage. Not that. The Wise Glasses would be fine, right? But in terms of our Acid Spray user, Toadscruel actually is something that I think is going to be very interesting. You could run a very similar set to your Amoonguss. However, Light Screen or Reflect, just depending on what this ends up being, is going to be something that I think is going to be super valuable here for this Pokemon. But then you can go down and you can add Acid Spray to this Pokemon, so it lowers the special defense to boost up other Pokemon like Amoonguss. It's going to be very beneficial in that regard. And then it also itself gets access to things like Energy Ball and Giga Drain. Now, I think there are other moves that you could rotate on. I definitely think that Giga Drain and Energy Ball are very good options because you have the chance to lower the special defense, and you get the health back. There are some other options just depending on what this thing runs. Honestly, if this ends up being a double typing, you could just run Reflect instead of Energy Ball on this Pokemon, and then you can just throw on like a Light Clay on it. If I could type Light Clay, and that's going to be a really solid option for this particular Pokemon. I think Toadscruel and Amoonguss are honestly going to be two of the best Pokemon for this particular event. Thinking of other Pokemon that we've already used that you might already have trained up, Gastrodon has a lot of potential because of Storm Drain. It's unaffected by electric type attacks. It's unaffected by water type attacks. It pretty much just shuts down this raid. And then you could do things like Clear Smog in case there's some sort of build up for this Pikachu here. You could run, honestly, I don't think you need to bother with something like Recover on this Pokemon. I think running something like maybe Mud Slap again would be very good. You know, lower the accuracy of the Pikachu is going to be something that's pretty beneficial. And then you can just kind of devote a lot of resources into different attacks. I think Helping Hand would be great here, and then you could go into like maybe Earth Power or maybe a Poison type attack and run like a poison type Gastrodon, or a Ground type. You could run Ground type Gastrodon with Earth Power, and I think you have a pretty solid Pokemon here in terms of dealing with this Pikachu. So that's just another option to consider here. Now, I think grass types are definitely going to be very solid. In terms of other Pokemon, if you wanted to go the more physically offensive route, Brute Bonnet, I think, has some potential here. There's a couple different things that you could do. Again, I think Sunny Day here actually goes crazy with Growth. Growth is very nice. And then you have access to, what else do we have here? I mean, honestly, you could just go for like Bullet Seed, and Bullet Seed takes a lot of time, so maybe you want to go like Seed Bomb or something, but Bullet Seed Loaded Dice could be interesting for dealing with this Pokemon, but also like Seed Bomb or something to that effect could be good here to just do massive damage after you get a couple growths off. I think that's a really solid option. And then the reason I keep going back to Sunny Day on these two Pokemon is that it also pairs well with like Amoonguss. You could run like Solar Beam instead. And then you could just like do massive solar beams after a bunch of growth. I think that's a really, really solid option. You could even run like a Heat Rock here and increase the duration of the sun. That's also going to weaken the water type attack that Pikachu will most likely have. So it's definitely a benefit to having, and then it's going to power up your solar beams with a grass Tera typing. I think that's a really solid option for that Pokemon. With this Pokemon, it's less beneficial. The final Pokemon that I think is kind of just a little spicy pick here that I just want to throw in is Gallade. Now, you might not typically think of Gallade as like a really solid option here, but if you max out, and honestly, you could probably get away with not having to put a bunch into this if it is like a double, if it's like a hybrid Pikachu, you could go a lot more into the defense investment here. But for this particular Pokemon, the big thing that this has access to is Leaf Blade, and I think this is a really interesting option here, and run like a grass Tera typing here, and you could run a Razor Claw because Leaf Blade has a high critical hit ratio. Apply that with a Razor Claw, and you're going to be doing just absolutely insane damage, and it also gets access to screens itself, so you can use this to set up yourself and just kind of do a little bit bonus. And you could even run like bulk up on it if it is a hybrid. That way you're able to kind of bulk up your Pokemon, make sure you take a couple more hits here and there. And then you could go in with just doing a bunch of damage with your Leaf Blades, and I think that's a really solid option as a potential Pokemon. So these are the Pokemon that I think as of right now are going to be very good into this particular raid. Gastrodon, or even you could do the same deal with Clodsire. Clodsire is going to be really good into this because it gets water absorb, it can't be hit by electric type attacks, and it has access to acid spray, right? So you could be just a really cheeky Clodsire here with an assault vest, and then run something like Mud Slap, and then go for like Earth Powers, or what's honestly, don't go for Earth Powers. You can go for like Earthquakes, just stuff like that to make this kind of a beneficial little damage dealer. You could even go for like a Poison Jab or something to that effect to do bonus damage here. I'm trying to see. Oh, it does get access to Trailblaze, and that could be kind of interesting. I think you could throw that on there. But like Clodsire, I think could fill a similar role to Gastrodon here, just because it plays like the same exact thing, is like being a kind of bulkier Pokemon that just can't be touched by this particular Pikachu. I think Gastrodon's a better pick here, but it's definitely something that you consider bringing. But I definitely think Amoonguss and Toedscruel are going to be two of the better Pokemon for this particular raid. But those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited for the Pikachu raid? Are you disappointed? I think there's reason to not be disappointed just by what we know. Like I said, we don't have the 2 weekends already announced. We have just 1 weekend, and it ends on Pokemon Day, which leads me to believe that there's going to be additional 7-star raids announced for the following weekend. So we're gonna have like back-to-back boom boom 7-star raids, and I'm really excited at that potential possibility. So leave a comment if you enjoyed the video, found it entertaining and helpful. Leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Also, be sure to check out the Discord, where people over there hanging out playing Pokemon all the time. And if you want to see more from me, check out this video where I show off this really awesome Sandy Shocks team from Pokesports that is super fun to use on the ladder and doesn't actually use a spot throw, which I think is super interesting. So check that out. And also check out this other video where I hit the ladder with a Tyranitar team that features Houndstone. Very solid team, super fun to use. But until next time, peace.